Hi, I want to thank you once again for joining me on my program. We always appreciate every time someone goes in and begins to view and to like and to share our messages. So thank you for helping us to get the word out all across the land. Today I'm going to bring a message entitled, You've Been Recruited. You've been recruited. So let's go right on into the Word of God. Today I'm in the New King James Version and I'm in the book of Judges. I'm going to tell you about the first part of this. It's in the 6th chapter of Judges, and in this chapter we find a young man by the name of Gideon. Now Gideon is so get this, he's in the winepress cave thrashing wheat. Let me say it again. He's in the winepress cave thrashing wheat. Thrashing wheat. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Not unless you were Gideon. You see, back in this time frame when he lived, the Israelites had once again disobeyed God. They were not serving God as the one true God. They had gone after other gods. They had disobeyed God. They were not following God. Kind of sounds like today, doesn't it? Is our nation as a whole following God, or are there individuals who are following God? Well, Israel as a whole was not following God, and they found themselves in a mess. Now let me ask you, have we found ourselves in a mess? As I read the news, I would say we have. And so Gideon was living in a generation that was really messed up. The Israelites were hiding out in dens and caves and behind rocks in order to stay safe from the Midianites and the Amalekites who would come in. Now here's what they did. They would let the Israelites plant their crops, water their crops, put them all in, take good care of them, and then when it was time for the crops to be harvested, here would come the Midianites and the Amalekites and consume all the crops, leaving nothing for the Israelites. They didn't just do that. They brought in their cattle and their goats and their sheep and their oxen, and they just let them forage whatever else was left over. Trampled the land. And it said in the Word, let's see if I can find that. Oh, here it is. Verse 5, chapter 6 of Judges. For they would come up with their livestock and their tents, coming in as numerous as locusts. Both they and their camels were without number, and they would enter the land to destroy it. They would enter the land to destroy it. It sounds familiar. Let me just see. You see, they didn't just come to pass through, they came to destroy. Now, don't we know of someone else that does that very well, very cunningly? John 10:10. The thief does not come except to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. So here was Gideon and the thief, in this case the Midianites and the Amalekites, were coming in, and every year, year after year, they would do the same thing, rob them of everything, until it got to the point that the Israelites were now living in caves and dens and hiding out. So now we see Gideon. Gideon Let's begin in verse 11. Now the angel of the Lord came and sat down under the terebinth tree, which was in Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, while his son Gideon threshed wheat in the winepress in order to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him and said to him, The Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor. Gideon, we said, was thrashing wheat in the winepress, hiding in a cave. So Gideon's response. Gideon said to him, O my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? Have you ever asked that? You know, Lord, if I'm a Christian, if I've been serving you and I love you, then why am I going through this? Why? Well, that's what Gideon asked. Why has all this happened to us, and where are all his miracles which our fathers told us about, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites. Seeming like at the beginning of this teaching I said the reason they were in this mess, Israelites, is because they were no longer following God. God didn't lead them into that mess. They put themselves there through disobedience. Verse 14, Then the Lord turned to him and said, Go in this might of yours, and you shall save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent you? Remember I said the title today was, You've been recruited? So he said to him, O my Lord, how can I save Israel? Indeed, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. Who am I? What can I do? I mean, after all, I'm in the wine press. I got the wheat here. I'm hiding out. Oh, and by the way, we are the weakest clan family in the whole Manasseh clan. And if that's not enough, I'm the runt in the bunch. I'm the weakest in the whole group. I think if he'd been wanting to really smart off, he would have said, and even my sisters are stronger than me. In other words, go find somebody else. It's not me. But God saw young Gideon as a mighty man of valor. Let me explain something that I was sharing with a friend today. Have you ever played the chess game? I'm not good at it, but I know what the pieces are about. There's a king and a queen, and then there's the rook, and you get on down to these little ones, they're called pawns. And the pawn is expendable. It's the first one that you try to get, that you're willing to let go of. The idea is to get to the king of the other side. Well, to do that, you may have to let go of a pawn, and you make these certain moves. In God's eyes, He calls us all kings and priests. He has anointed us, and we are His children of the High King. We are the sons and daughters of the kings, which means we are kings. But on Satan's side, he could care less about that. To him, we are a pawn, to be expended. We are a throwaway piece. He wants to get to the king. God calls us kings, and He will not expend us. We are valuable. We are mighty men of valor in His eyes. But sometimes we don't see ourselves like God sees us. In the midst of the world that we live in today, how do you see yourself? Are you saying to yourself or to God, where are all the miracles? You know, I heard Sister Dee talking about miracles, but I haven't seen any. Oh, they're very much alive and strong. And your parents may have told you of something good and great and wonderful that happened to them. But have they seen it? We continue to tell them the story because obviously it sinks in. Gideon knew the stories. So I commend Israel for passing it to the next generation. But at some point, every generation must step forward. And God told Gideon it was his turn to step forward. And he tells each one of us today, it's our turn. We are mighty men and women of valor in God's eyes, and we have been recruited for such a time as this. You know, I hope that every one of you will understand that you serve God, the Creator, and He is in charge, and He hasn't lost a battle yet. Whatever's going on in your life, go look in the mirror again, and I want you to see yourself the way God sees you. If you're in shelter in place, become the mighty man or woman of valor in the shelter in place, and you begin to do everything you can on your knees in prayer. Begin to fight the spiritual warfares that are going on. Begin to stand strong for the healing of the nation. Begin to stand strong for the finances that are needed in your own household. Begin to stand strong for the salvation of the loved ones. We are God's mighty men and women of valor. We've been recruited. Thank you for staying with me. Keep sharing, liking. Give us comments. That really helps. God bless you, and come back again.